Hello, welcome to the Let's Talk Kids Health Facebook Live Show, episode 41. I'm Dr. Narissa Bauer, your host. I'm a behavioral pediatrician and founder of Let's Talk Kids Health. As you know, the concept of this show is to share information about behavioral health, parenting, and family wellness. Each week, I plan to bring you topics and guests to help me advance this mission so that we can all talk together. Now, let us know that you're here by commenting, asking questions, giving us a like at any time. And in a little bit, your questions will be asked of my guest. Now, the replay will be immediately available after the broadcast. So as you're watching and you're like, hey, so and so would really benefit from watching this episode, please share because sharing is caring. And if you don't want to miss future episodes or maybe check out some of the past ones, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Narissa Bauer MD, and follow my blog Facebook page, Let's Talk Kids Health. So now that I've got all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, I am so excited to welcome this week's guest, Dr. Hokehe Eko, sorry about that, mummy of three Lovelies. She is the host of Brain Power TV show based in Austin. She's a board certified pediatrician and an ADHD consultant who helps parents of children with ADHD address the root causes of their children's behaviors using functional medicine. She's also the CEO of Kids for Hope, her nonprofit dedicating to sharing love and hope with children in foster care. I mean, if that wasn't enough, like what other hats does she have on? We were just talking right before we went live, all the things she's doing, amazing things. So I am so happy to have you on the show today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes, yes. And, when we met several months ago, I just remember just coming away from that conversation feeling so energized and feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to have another conversation with you. So I am so
Right.
excited to
Yeah,
have
me
you.
too. Me
So,
too. Same here.
yeah.
Yes, for sure. I felt like
Well,
I'd known you forever.
I, I know, like sometimes
Yeah,
you just have that with somebody, and I feel the
yeah,
same. So thank you.
yes.
So before we jump into the topic, I mean, first of all, I have to mention your nonprofit because I know that we weren't going to talk about that particularly, but please, can you tell everybody about that and why you started it?
Sure. Yes. Actually, I'm glad you brought it up because I love to talk about it these days, actually, more than anything else. So, as a pediatrician, as she said, and I was taking child abuse classes, just extra coursework at work that they offered us. And it's not that I didn't know there weren't foster kids around, but that brought that to my awareness. And I realized the amount of trauma that they go through on a daily basis. I mean, the fact that they're taken from their homes alone is trauma. Then the fact that they're put in a stranger's home and the whole 9 yards, and just the process for them, and how many of them end up being in that system for years at a time, and it's like not ending. So I thought to myself, well, what can I do about this? And then I started talking more to the foster parents I would see, because where I live, our state has one of the highest numbers of kids in foster care. Oklahoma does. And so it's like so many kids I would see over and over. And I kept hearing the same thing about how kids are pulled out of their homes and they get placed in these foster parents' home with nothing that's theirs. And if, as pediatricians, as parents, as mommies and daddies, we know that one of the first words a kid says is mine, right? It's like they need things as theirs. And so now these kids are taken out of their homes with nothing that's theirs, and that's a whole nother set of traumas. I mean, in addition to the fact that you just took them from anything they know, even if it's not a good situation for them. So I thought I could do something about it. So I decided to. And I said, well, I'm going to start Kids of Hope, and we're going to put together bags with brand new items for the kids, because I want them to feel like they're special and that they're valuable enough to get these, because many of the kids come from poorer backgrounds and don't even get anything that's new. And so we put together items like teddy bears and blankets and books and underwear and socks and toiletries, just things. And then we put handwritten notes telling them they're loved and they're valuable, just things to bring a smile to their face and let them know there's hope. And so we started putting those bags together. We started in 2019. We've so far we've placed over 500 bags with DHS and foster care agencies. So when they pick up the kids, they can hand them a bag. And so, but with COVID, we're wrenching our plans. So now we can't have packing parties like we used to and any of that. So right now we're in the process of moving to where we're going to be fulfilling dreams for foster kids. And we're going to be walking through pediatric clinics primarily first and foster care agencies where they will ask the kid or the parent what could put a smile on the kid's face. And then they'll go on our website and fill out our form. And then we'll find people to match that dream or we'll fulfill it ourselves. So I wanted to continue putting smiles on kids' faces one way or another. So
Oh,
that's what I came up with. And so that's what we're going to be moving towards. Yeah. I'm so
wow.
excited about it. Yeah.
Wow, wow. I mean, people
Yeah.
watching this, if there's a way that we can help support you, let us know because then I'll put
Yeah.
it in the video description. This is an
Thank you.
amazing mission that you have, and and on top of doing everything that you're juggling, this is just shows what big heart you have to help those kids in need. So,
Yes. And in addition, I'm going to be teaching them about brain health because I found that the kids I work with in my practice,
yes.
when I approach things from brain-based angle, they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, get excited," and they're more likely to help themselves get better. And so that's what I'm going to be doing because I've talked to so many foster parents. I've looked at the curriculum they have, and I'm like, we're missing this
This
angle
piece, yeah.
of teaching both the parents and the kids about how their brain works and how they can improve it because I think it's important because of all the trauma that we are dealing with the kids.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. I love that angle, and let's get into that. So you mentioned this word. You mentioned brain health. So,
okay.
I have a brain here, but like, what is brain health? I mean, and why is it important?
Right. So I will tell you, you know, there's lots of words being thrown around like mindfulness and that's intention and all of that. And that's really wonderful because that's a component of if you want to say the broader picture of brain health. But I find that what's missing from our conversation is the physical health of our brains. Like we're not talking that much about how can we help our brains itself feel better because it drives everything we do. So if we start thinking about the physical health of our brains, then we'll be more likely to put down that candy bar and drink water instead because we know our brain needs water and loves water. So I find that when I go at that angle with kids, and they're like, oh my gosh, my brain, yeah, I want my brain to feel better. And so then they're more likely to do what I'm asking them to do versus, hey, drink two more bottles. They're like, really? So, so that's why brain, and I have a brain story. I was a junior in college and
Mhm.
wanted to be a doctor, a pediatrician specifically since I was five. And go figure, I was that kid that five people had to hold down, but I can't explain to you why. I decided I wanted to be a doctor, even though I was scared of the doctor's office. But here I am. But anyway, so I was in junior in college and I was in pre-med and I had two car accidents back to back, like exactly 6 months apart. I mean, I had just gotten released from physical therapy the day before, and then the next day I had another one. And the therapist was like, wait, did I just discharge you? What are you doing here again?
Oh,
And so yeah, so I started not doing well in school and they sent me to see a neuropsychologist who said,
mhm.
so young lady, what is it that you want to do? And I said, I want to be a pediatrician. So he told me, you're average, you're not going to go to medical school. I suggest you find something else to go do.
Oh,
And needless to say, I mean, saying that I was heartbroken was
understatement.
yes,
He
the
just
word.
crushed your dreams.
Yes, basically. And so, of course, I proceeded to believe what he said. That word, believe, right? So I believed what he said. He's a doctor, right? Oh, I have visitors. So, yeah. So he said, so I believed what he said, and I proceeded to fail out of school that semester. But my parents were like, nope, you are going right back to college. So they let me take a few months off, and I was depressed and the whole 9 yards. But then they sent me right back, and they're like, you can do it. You're a doctor. That's what you're gonna do. And they kept talking to me even when I didn't believe it myself. And
Mhm.
here I am. And so, but for a long time, I suppressed that story. I didn't really remember it. And then I happened to be just, I don't know where I was online, and I saw brain health for clinicians. And I was like, I need to do that. And then I remembered my brain story, and I was like, that's the connection. So how about I go learn about brain health as a pediatrician, and I can help other kids who feel like they can't do something, or they're not valuable enough, or they've been told no, they can't do this because something happened to them. And here I am, I've been able to do it. So that's where that whole journey started.
Yeah, I mean, what a personal story for you, and it just, it helps you, I bet, when you're talking to kids,
Yes.
how important your brain is, right? I
Mhm.
mean, you only have one brain, but you're right, the brain drives the rest of the body, and
Right.
it's so important. I
Yes.
mean, so I'm curious because you want to use this angle, when you're talking to kids in foster care and they've had adversity, they've experienced trauma. We know that first of all, if you want a child to make any change or anybody to make a change, they need to understand the why. I mean,
Right.
as a pediatrician, how do you speak that to, oh, sorry, how do you speak that to kids? And how do you help them actually fall in love with their brain?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've from some of the examples I've given already. So I'll give one example. I had this 12-year-old who was in foster care and also had ADHD
Mhm.
and anxiety and depression and the whole nine yards. So I saw him in my office and I said, "Hey, Will, do you want your brain to feel better?" And he was like, "My brain feel better?" And I was like, "Yeah," because then I explained to him how his brain controls everything. So if he starts making choices to help his brain, then he'll feel better. And he was like, "Yeah." So he was all on board with it. And so I told him things like, your brain loves water. Your brain is 80% water. It's mostly water. So if you drink more water, then your brain will work better. And so, and then he took that and ran with it. And it's not just him. I found that the more I say that to kids, they're like, "Oh yeah, oh my brain loves water. Okay, I'm gonna be nice to my brain." So that's what it means for children to fall in love with their brains. Like they literally want their brains to do better. And kids love to want to take care of themselves, but we just have to give them the tools to understand how they can take care of themselves. They want to feel like they're in charge and they're helping themselves feel better. So if we boost that for them and show them how, then they run with it. Yeah. And so I told him something like, okay, so put away your phone at night because that blue light from your phone tells your brain to stay up at night. And he's
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And he did it. So I was like, okay. So you would think a 12-year-old wouldn't listen to you, but before that, he wasn't listening to me for sure.
Yeah.
Until I
Yeah.
discovered I could go at it at this angle. And even with younger kids, it works too. Like today, I saw a kid and I was telling her she only drinks one bottle of water like in a week. The rest of the time, she's drinking juice. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, so listen, you're not. And then she's like, oh, I cramp so much. I'm like, your whole body is desperately asking you for water. That's why it's cramp. Because if you drink more water, you won't cramp as much. Yeah, because and then I explained that to her and I explained, oh, this is why you also have headaches because your brain is telling you need more water. And she's like, okay, I get it now. Okay, I'll drink one more bottle a day. I'm like, okay, good. And I'm like, this works.
Well, I'm just kind of envisioning these conversations, right? And
Yeah.
then these parents are sitting there like, I've been saying that. And then all of a sudden the doctor says it, and then all of a sudden they do it. Like what? There's magic in this. I don't know.
Right. And I mean I try to bring the parents along and I say, hey, mommy and daddy, you too, if you're not sleeping well, if you wake up feeling foggy, it might just be your brain saying, hey, feed me, give me some love here. And
Mhm.
like if you love your brain, it will love you back. And then they're like, okay, okay, we get it. So those are the kinds of things. So tell and using that also with exercise, like, oh, exercise increases oxygen to your brain and your brain loves oxygen. And so if you exercise, how about we do 5-minute walk? And like we just try to start small. And they're like, oh, so it will help my brain feel better. I'm like, yeah, it will. So just try it. And then they come back and tell me how they did 10 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, okay, great. So it's nothing hard. It's just empowering the kids to know that they're in charge of something, and they feel like, oh, I'm in charge of my brain. I can help it feel better. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, so I know both of us, we see a lot of children who think and learn a little bit differently, who have
right,
ADHD, anxiety, depression, and a lot of that negative self-talk sometimes comes up,
right.
right? And, do you find that the conversation is just as easy with kids with ADHD, or how do you talk to them about their brain, first of all?
Yeah.
And then we'll transition to the question about, how do you deal with negative thoughts and all of that?
Yes. So the population I actually started testing the brain angle on was kids with ADHD.
Yeah.
The kids who would had not listened to me for years before then, or even the younger ones. I've had this conversation with 6 year olds. I've had it with 18 year olds, and they all. I just start with one thing. I ask them, tell them their brain likes, and then they go do that one thing, and then the converse it builds up from there. But I found that they are receptive because they know, they feel. I mean, with all they hear conversations. I'm sure the teachers say things to them about their ADHD, and they know they don't learn like other kids do, and they feel bad that they're not what they call normal, whatever that is.
Mhm.
So when I go at it, I found that when I go at it from this angle of, hey, you can actually do something to help your brain feel better, because they'll tell me, oh, my brain is so noisy, it doesn't quiet down, or I can't seem to get it to work, I can't do things right. And when I say, oh yeah, you can actually, because if you do this one thing, it will help you feed your brain what it needs. And children with ADHD often they eat not sleeping well, because ADHD can also be called the sleep disorder. So if they're not sleeping well, then their brains don't function well. Then it's just this bad cycle. So often I just attack one thing at a time. So if they come in, we'll talk about sleep. Okay, so can we put away devices? Can we turn off the TV? Can we go to bed an hour earlier? And then I explain it to them from the brain-based angle. And then I find that when we just do small steps at a time, they're more likely to embrace it. And especially when they are told that they can do something to participate to help themselves feel better, and
Mhm.
they're more likely to do it. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, I bet those parents who are watching are like wondering like, wow, this is I mean, I could just teach them about their brain, right? I mean,
right,
and empowering them.
right.
And it's what I'm hearing you say is that when we can educate our children and then in doing so give them practical small steps that they can begin to do for
Yes.
themselves and give them control,
Right.
they actually thrive.
They do. They do. They love it. Kids want to be in control. That's why they like, no, mine. Me. That's all. I want to be in charge here, not you. What you say. You know how parents will go around saying, smile at this person, and then they don't smile. And then we're
Mhm.
like, why didn't you smile at them? They're like, I'm the boss of my. Why should I smile at them? Because I don't want to. So I mean, as much as we adults want to be in control, they too. So let's help them. Let's
Yeah.
empower them to be participants in their own health. I find that when you bring kids on board that way, then things go better. And then there's that bond that strengthens when the parents are on board with it. I'm sure you know in your program too
Mhm.
that you do with the parents and the kids, that it strengthens that bond, and then the kids are more likely to listen to what the parents say, right? and
Yeah.
and it can only get better. I mean, even if progress is slow, at least it's slow in the right direction, right, versus
Yes.
in the opposite direction. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I again, you're like my people. Like we're like I just I mean I remember us having this conversation and like, yes, yes, like
Yeah.
so we're just so excited about this. So like can you tell me then, like if you have a kiddo you're seeing in the office who, kids with ADHD, they're smart kids, but
Yes.
oftentimes they just have some challenges. And um a lot of them experience what I call automatic negative thoughts, right? They have those
Yes.
those thoughts in their heads. How do you help a child who says, I'm stupid, I keep getting in trouble, I'm not good enough. Like, how do you help them help themselves in that situation?
Right. So, with automatic negative thoughts, just thoughts that pop in your head. And so the thing is, so much research and science shows that we have the ability, our brains have the ability to stop those thoughts, right? And the way to do that is to question the thought. So I teach the kids. So if you have a thought that comes in your head, I'm not pretty, I'm not good enough, I want you to question the thought. I want you to say to yourself, is that true?
Hmm.
And that already stops the thought in its track and gives you a pause, and then you have time for your brain to kick in and think, hey, is that really true? And when I ask them that when I'm in front of them, and they're like, no, it's not true, because really they know it's not. I mean, they know it's not true, but of course, as humans, when we're bombarded with thoughts, we if we don't stop it, of course, we go down the rabbit hole with it. And so when I ask them, is that really true? And then they say no, I'm like, ask them again, are you sure that's not true? And then they say, no, it's not true. And then I say, so what do you think is the truth? And then it takes them a little longer, and they think about it, and they often come back with, okay, the truth is, I am great, I'm good. And so I say, yeah, the truth is that. And I want you to just repeat that to yourself. So the next time the thought comes, I want you to stop and question and just say, is that true? And I found it works for me. It works for anybody. It's so life changing to know that you actually have control and you can be a gatekeeper for your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because your thoughts now build on and drive your actions. So
Yep. Yep. I mean, I love it. I bet when you're sort of going through that process with the child and the parent is sitting there kind of watching this unfold, and then it's like, oh, wow, yeah, that could work even for me. Like, I bet they have that light bulb moment like,
right.
huh, I've thought those kinds of things too, but if I just
Yeah.
stop and think about it, I could stop that thought and investigate.
Yes.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. My littles just brought me a glass of milk.
Oh, that was so kind of them. Oh.
I'm like,
So
okay, thank
thoughtful,
you.
taking care of
I
you.
know.
Well,
So,
before
yes.
I transition, you in your bio, we had said that you treat children and families, well, children with ADHD, but you do it from a functional medicine perspective. So I'm gonna, if it's okay, we're gonna go a little
Yes.
bit off script here, and if you could kind of talk about what that means, so that way everybody who's watching understands what functional medicine is.
Okay, sure. So, functional medicine is basically we're looking at what's the root cause of the behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I during COVID, yeah, like around there, I mean, I didn't have that many patients. And so I started to question, like, wait, I mean, I've been thinking, but then it came to a boiling point for me where why are we giving stimulants and kids are still having behavior issues and they wear off, and then we medicate them some more and we're just medicating. I had this one patient who came in. She was on two meds during the day and clonidine at night, and they wanted me to increase clonidine. And I was like, no, I'm not increasing your clonidine. We need to figure out what else we can do here to help you sleep better. I'm like, you're becoming over medicated. And so it's like so I started to ask myself, is there anything else that I don't know that I need to find out? And so I started searching and I started looking online and on Facebook at doctor groups. And I was like, there has to be more. And then I came across functional medicine. I was like, what's functional medicine? I'm conventionally trained. I mean, what in the world is this? So, but then I realized that, and I started digging and I found all this research, even published by NIH, which is more conventional medicine about, for example, how vitamin D, how iron, how zinc, how magnesium are deficient in kids diagnosed with ADHD. And I was like, who knew? I mean, really? Oh my Lord. So you mean if we replace these things, if we check and they're low and we replace it, we could help their behavior. And that's, I mean, to me, it's like looking at the whole child and not just the behavior,
Mm-hmm.
because that also it does two things. So it helps us look at what else is going on that could be causing the child's behavior. And also, it changes the way we look at the child. So it's not just, you bad kid, you can't even get it right. What's the matter with you? It's now, oh, wait, what's causing your behavior? Not what is wrong with you. Like, why can't
Mm-hmm.
you get it? So I found that when we start looking at kids from that lens, like what's causing it versus what's wrong with you, then we are more likely to help the child as a whole get better. And I'm not saying it's a magic pill. I'm not saying they suddenly don't need stimulants. None of that. I mean, I give stimulants still,
Mm-hmm.
but there are other things to look at that to help the child live a more balanced and healthy life and
Yeah.
help the family as well. So that's what it is.
Yes, no, and I love it. And it kind of comes full circle because what you're talking about is really looking at overall brain health, right?
Exactly.
And
Basically, all the things that are affecting the health of this kid's brain, not just
yes,
how they
yes,
behave. Yeah, what's making
yes.
them behave like this? Yeah. And I mean, genetics plays a part, but there's other things like nutritional deficiencies, the environment. I mean, I saw a kid with what it turned out to be black mold, and she was hyperactive. And I asked mom how old their house was, and that's how I caught on to this because I asked that question. I could have filled out Vanderbilt and we could have just done the whole usual thing of giving stimulants. But then I asked how old, and then she started telling me, oh, everybody thinks she's crazy because since she moved into this house, she, the daughter, and the dog all feel sick, and they just lay there, and insects fly in the house, and insects die. And I'm like, insects die
Oh,
in your house?
oh
What
no.
is that? Oh God, what is going on in your house? I think you need to leave the house. So I told her, can you please take your daughter out of the house today, like from here? Don't take her back. And so she's like, yeah, sure. So then I saw this kid a few weeks later, and the inattentiveness was gone. So it was the high mold exposure in their house. I mean, their house was old and it was chock full of that stuff. And so you're in a pollutant, an environmental pollutant long enough, it will make changes in the way your brain functions. And then we're just gonna, if we don't ask, we're just going to assume that, okay, we don't know what's up with you. We're just going to go the usual route. And I'm not saying, I'm not bashing that at all. Not at all. I'm
Hmm.
saying just ask the questions because research has shown that there's other things that can be triggering behaviors. And we will be doing our kids a disservice if we don't ask.
Well, I mean, and that's right. I mean, what you're just saying there is behaviors are behaviors, and we need to not label behaviors automatically. So, I mean, I guess I could play that scenario out that if you hadn't asked that question and gone the route, might have started medication, but then if she was still in that house, it probably wouldn't have done
No,
anything, or she wouldn't have gotten
right.
better. And then you'd be
No.
like, "Oh,
And then
what's going
we'll
on?"
switch to medication and we'll keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. I'm wondering, was mom also not feeling good herself,
She
or
wasn't. Mom
yeah?
wasn't good. Mom was sick. The dog
Hmm.
was sick. So I was
Wow,
like, please leave. And so when
wow.
they left, they all felt better. So yeah.
That's the power of really listening
Mm-hmm.
and asking questions, being a
Right.
very good detective and
Yes.
not jumping to conclusions. I love
That's
that.
right. And
I
not
love that.
dismissing what they say. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I love that.
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, I could talk to you all day. I mean, but I know you have three young kids there. You just got home from work. But before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to share with the people who are watching, listening? If they're like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to Dr. Echo or find out more about what she does or give
Right.
to her, nonprofit. Like, tell us all of that.
Okay. So, first, I want to tell you, parents, remind you that ADHD is not caused by bad parenting. It's brain based. It's a brain based disorder. And I want you to remember to look. One second. Okay, good. It was getting loud. Sorry. And that I want you to remember that your child wants, they want to excel, they want to thrive, they want to see that feel, that look of pride. And it's not that your child is unfocused, because if every parent will stop and think about what is it that your child is hyper focused on, it's not that our kids are unfocused. There's things that they like and they're
Yes.
like hyper focused on it. But you see, when you recognize what they're hyper focused on and you build up that strength in them and you recognize it and you tell them specific things like, hey, I like how you built the Lego set. I
Yep.
like how you played so nicely with your friend today instead of just, oh, great job. If you do that, your child will feel like they're seen, they'll feel like they're heard, they'll feel like they're valuable, and they'll be more likely to repeat the action. And when kids know that you see their strength and what they're doing and you see it as something valuable, they feel pride, and that builds that skill of, I want to keep doing better, I want to keep doing better, and they keep doing better, and then it spreads to other things they're doing. So encourage your child, be specific with when you see them do good. It's so easy. Even me, I'm so guilty of, oh, stop doing this. Why are you doing this? Oh, da, 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 da. All right. Versus, hey, wow, I like the way you made your bed so nicely. Let's be specific with our kids, and you'll find that they will gravitate to doing that more and more. And it builds up their self-esteem. And our children who learn differently, their self-esteem is often like in the tanks because
Mm-hmm.
of school, and unconsciously we may be saying things as parents that we don't want them to take the wrong way, but they see it and they feel it. So if we can boost them and build up their self-esteem and their self-love, it can only get better. And
Mm.
then Dr. Nerissa and I will come along and add in the other extra things. But, yes, it definitely starts from home. So yes, please, that's my big,
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
Message.
again, I just feel like we are the same and we love the same. You're so passionate about this. And I
Yes,
love it. I love it.
yeah.
Ah,
I
well,
just did a whole TEDx talk on that. I felt like I was repeating my lines. Oh my God.
I know. I
Yes.
know. Well,
Yeah.
I
So,
we can talk about this all day. And like I said, I'm going to invite you back. We're going to keep having this
yes,
conversation because it's so
yes,
great. So I
yes,
hope that the folks watching today, listening, if you have any questions, you can still ask. But I hope that it inspired you to, first of all, take a step back. Remember, behaviors are behaviors. Talk with your child's pediatrician about your concerns, and then also, if it truly is, even just starting to educate our kids about their brain, so that way they can feel empowered to start taking care of themselves, regardless of if they have ADHD or not. you
yes,
know
yes.
right, I
Everybody.
mean, right, and then
Yes,
doing praise, giving them that feedback so that we can build their self-esteem is so
right.
important and very powerful. And then,
Yes.
if they have learning and thinking differences, we still love them.
Mm-hmm.
We meet them where they are, and
Right.
we kind of cheer them on, and if we
Yes.
do medication, we do medication, but we also think of other things. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for such a great conversation tonight.
Yes, my pleasure. I enjoyed it always. Lots of laughs with you. I enjoy
Oh, I
talking with you.
know, I know, I do too. We're gonna do this again
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
Well, so
And go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, please.
No, I was gonna say the nonprofit is called KITS of Hope,
Yes,
Kids of
kits of
Hope,
hope.
and
Hmm.
so it's kidsofhope.org, and we're still in the middle of retooling it to fit the new direction we're going in. So, but yes, and if you'd like to reach out to me, my email address is hokeheeko@gmail.com.
Okay, all together, right? And
Yes, all together.
I'll put that in the show notes. So if you're like,
Okay.
"Wow, this is amazing. I want to help out. I want to see how I can donate, kind of want to find out
Okay.
more." Please, you're getting permission to contact her directly. So
Yes. And yes, and also the Brain Power TV is on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Power
So
TV with
subscribe
Dr.
to that.
Echo.
Yep.
Yeah.
To
Yes,
subscribe to that.
please. That would be
Yes.
great. We have lots of great interviews. Dr. Nerissa's is on there. It was
we
so
had a
fun.
we had another great conversation there too, didn't we?
Yes, yes, we did.
Well, thank you again so much, and I hope you drink your
Yes.
milk because
I
milk does a
better.
body good. Yes, you better. Um,
Yes.
and I do want to tell those watching that next week's special guest, another great guest and a friend of mine, Dr. Funke Ofalabe Brown. She will be talking
Great.
about sleep and ADHD.
That's a
So we're
good
gonna,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. I mean, I'm just so lucky to have so many great people in my network who I can
Yes.
just say, come on and have a great conversation.
Yeah,
So
that's wonderful.
I know. It's so wonderful. I'm so excited. And then also I do want to put in a plug because it's almost November. And so as you know, I do a parenting book club. This November, in a few days, I'm going to be doing Driven to Distraction by Dr. Ed Hollowell. Now, it's his like one of his earlier books. He has multiple books, but I chose that one specifically because I have heard the story a lot from my families after a child has a diagnosis of ADHD. Oftentimes parents are like, wait, I might have ADHD too. And so this book, I'm reading it right now, has so many great stories. He's a psychiatrist who has ADHD himself, and he
Mhm.
talks and shares lots of stories about parents and kids with ADHD, how it presents in couples and kids and families. And so it's a really wonderful read. And he has agreed to do a Facebook Live with me in December
Great.
in the parenting book club. So join this free
Wonderful.
parenting book club if you want to hear from him directly. So if you have any other questions, comments, suggestions, guests that you want me to bring onto this show, it's so fun for me to do. Please make sure to drop me a email at drnarissa@letstalkkidshealth.org or just comment below, reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. And so there you got it. And I do see one. Oh, thank you, Dr. Daigle. It is cool. Yeah, he was one of my authors who I reached out to. And he said yes. So I'm so happy that he
That's
did.
great.
All right. Well, so I'm going to wrap this up because you got to get going. And again, I always had such a fun time talking with you.
Yes. Same
Thank
here.
you. Thank you so much. And we'll have a
Yes.
good
Same
night.
pleasure.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you guys next week.
Okay.